So during this talk, it's an opportunity to present all the actions done at INRIA in the field of digital biology and digital health, and to show you that INRIA is a major player in this field. And I will illustrate my talk with a lot of examples, excerpt from the work of different INRIA teams. Indeed, digital health is not a new field at INRIA. Historically, at the end of the 70s, indeed, INRIA was created the last century, 1967, and at this time, some researchers apply their skills in applied math, computer science, to model organs, such as lung, heart, and to model function, such as cardiorespiratory function. And note that at this time, the president of INRIA, Michel, was both a mathematician and a physician. And he was the first to introduce the first conference in France in medical informatics. And a key event at the end of the 80s was the creation of the first team at INRIA devoted to digital medicine, digital health. It was Asclepios, created by Nicolas Ayache, and dedicated to a new field, indeed, medical image processing. And now this field is very important, with several conferences dedicated to the theme and specific journals. And at the beginning of this century, with the digitalization of medical information and under the impulse of Gilles Kahn, the president of INRIA at this time, more and more researchers were involved in the field of digital health. And you see here with this graph, especially the yellow line, the incredible increase of the number of INRIA teams during the 12 last years dedicated to the research dedicated to the field of medical health. And we have three main topics: modelization and control in life science, computational biology, and medicine and neurosciences. And we are about 50 teams in digital health currently, and 50 teams mean that approximately 1/4 of the teams at INRIA, because we have 220 teams. And you see that for all the topics, we have approximately the same number of teams involved in each topic. And to be a good actor in this field, it's important to collaborate with other actors, and we collaborate with INSERM, the National Institute in France for Health and Medical Research. We have presently 9 teams, joint teams. That means that we have researchers, engineers from the 2 institutes that contribute to solve specific scientific problems and questions. We have also joint teams with INRAE, the National Institute for Agronomy, Food and Environment, joint team with CEA, the National Institute for Research on Nuclear Energy and Alternative Energies, and which has also a biology department, and with the Institut Pasteur, famous with research in biology. And we have, in 2024, 30 startups, INRIA startups, in the field of digital health. So what are the main methodologies used by our team for biomedicine, for life science? First, of course, applied maths. And you have here an example of the work of the Kajir team that use biomechanics, fluid mechanics to model interaction between shock waves, such as ultrasounds, and tissue to, for example, destroy stones in specific organs. Another example from the team Statify with innovative statistics method, here for the automatic delineation of brain lesions, and each voxel automatically annotated as lesion are represented as node of a graph, and with such a representation, it's possible to compute uncertainty associated with the annotation, automatic annotation, at the level of the voxels and at the level of the lesion. And it's very important that for the neurologists, for the neurologists, to focus his attention to the lesion with the more uncertain automatic delineate lesion. And another example from computer science, here is a SparkQL query to retrieve specific biologic or genetic elements. The medical applications, there are a lot indeed, and some main medical applications are illustrated on this slide. First, a neurodegenerative disease. Here an example from the Aramis team. In Aramis, they used a lot of very large data set, MRI data set for function and structural images, and they tried to extract specific signatures to have the evolution of neurodegenerative disease, such as Parkinson or Alzheimer, and to be able to classify a new patient and make predictions. Another example for mind with an invasive implant to record brain signals to be able to restore motor function for patients suffering from stroke. At a molecular level, we have worked at LifeWare to model to a fine modelization of relation at this low level. Here an example for a very complex disease, rheumatoid arthritis. Another example at molecular level, the work of GenScale that use the sequence of ADN and have developed specific algorithms to be able to reconstruct the pangenome. And as you know, INRIA is very famous in medical robotics. And here you have an example from Mimesis team for the assistance of liver surgery. Example with the concept of digital twins, here for the Earth, and INRIA have developed specific electrophysiological models, biomedical model of Earth, to be able to refine a general model, personalize the model with the ECG recordings from one individual, one patient. And you see that several teams are involved in such modelization of Earth and cardiac function, Carmel, Comedia, Epion, Geostat, Medi, SIM, and Symbiotics. And from this consortium, a startup was created in Earth. And with this startup, in fact, a specific software is proposed to cardiologists to make physiological simulations of based on individual recordings to be able to see the abnormality of the Earth functioning and to propose specific therapies. Additional example here from the team Hybrid, and you will have a talk from Anatole Lecuyer, who pilots this team. An example of the use of virtual reality here in intensive care to re-educate, to train a patient suffering from a brain traumatic injury to be able to train him to recover the function of walking and to be able to accelerate the re-education when the patient is outside the ICU environment. Another example here from Morpheo team. It's a specific setting with a lot of camera to be able to study movement disorders. And for example, to follow patients suffering from Parkinson's disease. And it's also possible with external information from the video to infer inside anatomy and, for example, alteration of the skeleton in case of, for example, scoliosis. And of course, as researchers, we make some important publication in journal of our specialty, computer science, mathematics, applied mathematics, but also, and this is very important, to disseminate our innovations, to have publication in biology journals, in medicine journal, neuroscience journal, and you see some famous example publication in Nature Medicine, Nature Communication, or the Lancet for clinical trials. Of course, we diffuse some specific software, the famous Scikit-learn, a machine learning library in Python. I guess that some of you use this software, largely used in the scientific community. And last year, INRIA created a startup, Promoveu, based on this software. In another totally different field, we have an open source software for federate learning to avoid to displace move the data from hospital in a central repository to make federate learning. And we deployed the software in different centers to test it in center in France, but also in Europe. Another one, very different, is PlantNet, a collaborative apps developed in collaboration with INRIA. It's apps on mobile phone to be able to identify plants and flowers. And this is very interesting to study the biodiversity in a specific territory. And of course, to unfortunately constate the decrease of biodiversity and of course after insect. And another interesting software is the infrastructure FreeIAM. It's a specific infrastructure to be able to store and process in vivo imaging data in a specific environment, web-oriented. It's possible to upload or request for specific imaging in respect of GDPR regulation. We have both a repository in the public data centers and another one in collaboration with an industrial, Euris Cloud Santé, which has all the certificate to respect hosting sensitive data, medical data. In fact, digital health is a domain, innovative domain, and we have a lot of startups in the field. Indeed, 20% of the startups created at INRIA are in the field of digital health. Some example here with Rebrain, a startup that helped to have deep brain stimulation. Between it's important to have a precise localization of the stimulation at the subcortical level to cure tremor in Parkinson patients. With Pixel, we have a startup that offer different solutions for brain image processing, and for example, the follow-up of lesional load for multiple sclerosis patients in order to optimize to personalize the treatment by the neurologist. Physight, a startup that estimates the risk factors from the signal of the patient, the recordings of the patient in intensive care unit. And in the same field, Assista that propose the cardiovascular monitoring of patients in ICU or in surgery. To do that, to do all this innovation, it's important to collaborate. And we collaborate with the National Institute for Health and Medical Research. In INRIA, we have indeed different common work. We have grants each year, 4 grants, conjoint grant for PhD students. As I said, we have a joint team in the field, 9 presently and 3 under study. And we co-pilot a national program around digital health. I will give you some details later on this. And we collaborate, we are partner of several RHU. RHU in France is a specific program, a 5-year program that allow to, from a prototype developed in a laboratory, to put the prototype in an hospital at the patient bedside or on the clinicians, if it's software, in the console of the clinician. And we have presently 4 projects. ICANN with the hospital at Nantes about brain aneurysm, Rebone about bone fracture with the hospital at Nice, and at Bordeaux, Talent to the prediction of a stroke risk, and finally with hospital at Marseille, UNICAMP, with on prevention of lung cancer. Of course, to do that, to be a key actor in the field of digital health, it's very important to have access of data and to discuss with our colleague clinicians about interesting scientific problem in medical sciences. And you have the map of France here, and you see 2 circles in green that are laboratory in common with the ecosystem of all the hospitals in Paris, APHP, and this laboratory called Bernoulli Lab facilitate relation between expert in digital science and expert in medical science. And we have a grant and fund for a specific challenge or chairs. And we have the same with the second city in France, Lyon, with a lot of university hospital. We have a common, joint common laboratory with the Hospice Civil de Lyon. And on the France map, you see also a orange circle with that indicate the hospital, different hospital, where we are in discussion for new laboratory, hospital at Lille, Grenoble, Marseille, Montpellier, and Bordeaux. We are member of a center Paris Santé Campus at Paris, it's obvious. And the goal of this center is to federate, to create an ecosystem mixing public institutions such as INRIA, INSERM, university, and companies, small startup on large, such as Dassault Systèmes or Doctolib. And this center proposes a space for networking, for exchanging information between all these worlds, and to construct specific education program, especially for clinical staff, to have a training in digital science, machine learning, AI in large. We have specific internal incentive funding and, for example, challenges to force a consortium of INRIA teams, but also collaborators outside INRIA. from Brazil, why not, to solve a very important scientific questions. For example, we have an example here with around the federate machine learning. We have another one, URGE project about the optimization of the flow of patients in ICU or emergency departments. Omic Finder, that deal with the difficulty to manage genomic and biological information. And finally, Ocean AI with an antenna in South America, Chile, to use machine learning technique for the understanding of oceanic phenomena and climate changes. We have also, but it's smaller project, exploratory action, generally involving one or two teams, and we have specific action in digital health with COCOP for the cardiorespiratory monitoring in intensive care unit, include to fusion information in MRI and EEG, MUSMAP to help disabled people with a dysfunction at the muscular level, Real Pure Text for the to deal with information from electric impedance tomography technology, Decode Brain to decode and analyze brain activity, and the last one to control and correct the brain shift during surgical intervention, brain surgical intervention.
Michel, 5 minutes left.
Yeah. Quickly, we have specific object for structuring our scientific work in the field of digital health. We co-pilot with INSERM the program, national program around digital health with 60 million euros. We have support financially 15 projects, and we are in the evaluation of new 15 projects this year. We have other program with INRIA about digital agronomy and food, with INSERM and INRIA about microbiota and the relation with microbiota, food and health. At the molecular level, we work on genomics in collaboration with CNRS, and we have several programs at the European level. We have also a large program with important industry in France, with, for example, Dassault Systèmes involving 8 INRIA teams, several hospitals, in order to design digital twins for several organs in the human body. And we have a new program with Elsevier. Elsevier work on the restoration of vision and design of lens, glasses. And we work with a very important public health problem, the increase of myopia in the children's population. And we work to better understand, modelize pathophysiological mechanisms around myopia in children, and to try to define specific medical optic correction with Elsevier. And finally, important program called PEAK, Program INRIA Quadrant, to support very highly risky research project. And they are at several scales. The first one, SPEAKY, in digital health, just during 1 year, on around 100 kilo euro, to the last one, digital twin of organoid, 4-year project with around 1 million euro financial support. And this is my last slide. I have given you an overview of all the actions at INRIA in digital biology, digital health, and I hope that I have convinced you that INRIA is a major player in this field, and I have given you illustration and in direction where we can collaborate with Brazilian researchers. Thank you very much for your attention.